Hello crafters and welcome back to the This Calls for Confetti YouTube channel. My name is Deepa from Designs by D, and today I have a fun shaker card to share with you that uses some partial die cutting to transform a 3-tier cake into a 2-tier cake for this fun shaker background ephemera card. So this card has a lot going on. These are the products that we're going to be using. I have the Under the Lanterns Ephemera from This Calls for Confetti. There are 4 designs here, and I'm going to pick one of these for my design today. Then I've also got Alice's Story Birthday Sentiment stamp set, which is what we're going to be using for our sentiment. I've got the 3-tier cake stencil and die bundle. So this die coordinates with that stamp set. And then I've also got the Diamond Trellis embossing folder, which was released a couple months ago, which is absolutely gorgeous. So to start off, we are actually going to take that 3-tier cake and we are going to center it on our card panel. This is an A2 size card panel, and I'm just kind of deciding where I want to place it and which ephemera card that I want to use to go in the background of this cake. So what I'm doing here is I'm showing you that if you look at the width of this ephemera panel here, you'll see that it will only fit to cover the 2 tiers of this cake, which is why we're doing partial die cutting. So I've lined it up here on my panel and I've just put my plate only up to the edge of that second tier. I'm going to put it through my die cutting machine, and I'm not going to go all the way through. I'm going to go just up to where that edge is, and then I'm going to roll it back the other way just so that I don't get extra indentation in my card. Now I've got the 2 panels here, or sorry, the 2 tiers kind of cut. Now I just kind of have to cut the last part there at the bottom. So I'm just going to use a X-Acto knife and a metal ruler here just to cut that last line to create our window for this 2-tier cake. And it really takes no effort at all. And I really like using an X-Acto knife and a ruler to kind of customize the dies and stamps that I have. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the tray for the cake. So I've gone ahead and cut that from some charcoal cardstock, but now I kind of have to cut it off. So I'm using my X-Acto knife to cut that straight line at the bottom of the cake stand there so that I can fit it onto my card, and you can see it fits nicely. Now I might have, if I looked at this again, maybe moved that partial die cut cake a little more into the center of the card base, but this is how it worked out, so I'm just going to go with it. I've gone ahead and I've embossed that panel with the Diamond Trellis embossing folder, and now it looks absolutely gorgeous. You can see you could use one side or the other, the debossed or the embossed, it's up to you. I've also got this foilable acetate paper from This Calls for Confetti. That's available in the shop too. Everything I've used is linked down in the description below, so if you wanted to check that out, you could click down there and check that out. I'm lining up my Alice's Story Birthday Sentiments cake there, and I've got my acetate. I'm using the anti-static powder tool here, and I like to just drop some of the powder on there and then spread it around with my finger. I find that works best. And then I am going to emboss this. I'm going to stamp it out using some sticky watermark ink here, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some white fine detail embossing powder to this so that I get a nice crisp image. Now, I find when using acetate, the best trick in order to make sure that you melted all of the powder is to kind of tilt the acetate in the light. And if you see any like powdery bits, then you know to go over those. And when you're melting embossing powder to acetate, just be very careful. Keep your heat gun moving around so that you don't kind of warp that acetate, even though it is heat resistant. Now you can see this fits in my window perfectly. There are some extra sentiments down there at the bottom, but no worries, those aren't going to show up, and that's okay because we only want that 2-tier portion showing up. I'm going to add some glue to the back of this and attach my acetate with all those sentiments on it to complete the front part of my window. And that absolutely looks gorgeous. Once I put the image in behind there, it's just going to really come together. Now I've got the Spring Has Sprung cover plate here. It has a whole bunch of leafy leafy die cuts and florals. I want to use that to kind of add some extra details to my card. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut all of these little bits out of some white cardstock. There are little bunnies in there, but I'm not going to use those. You could always just put that back in the packaging and use it at another time. I'm just strictly grabbing the leafy fronds and the little flowers. And I love to do this with, like, you'll notice I do it with a lot of the cards that I make because I love adding those little floral details and I think they just really make the card pop in the end. So I've got my leafy greens and I am adding some green ink to these. I'm not adding the ink so that it covers the entire frond. It's kind of darker on one end of the frond and lighter on the other. And I find that kind of creates a nice two-tone image, which gives it a nice, fun, realistic, or at least more whimsical look. Now for my flowers, I'm adding some peach tones. I've got some gray here, and then I'm going to add a little bit of pink to that gray as well to kind of just go with the colors that are in the ephemera already because we have a lot of blue on our background. I didn't want to add any more blue. So I'm going ahead and I'm attaching the cake tray here. I'm using a bit of foam adhesive just to kind of prop it up a little and give this card some dimension, even though it's going to have a lot going on in terms of interactive elements. So I've gone ahead and attached that. And now I'm just going to dress up the front of this card. So we have all of our sentiments on that acetate panel. So I could have added another sentiment at the top. And I think that's what my thinking was when I kind of centered that cake and window in the middle of this card. But at the end, I figured I have so many sentiments on that acetate, I don't really need it. So it's up to you. If you feel like that empty space is too much, go ahead and add a sentiment or just maybe design your card so that cake's a little more in the center. I went with this. I think it still looked good in the end. So I'm adding fronds just kind of around the edges of the cake, just like a cake would have like icing details on it. And I'm just dressing it up at the top corner, the bottom corners, the top corner of the card. I'll add a little bit of embellishment there too with the flowers and the fronds. And you can see it kind of coming together and how it just kind of brings the card to life. All those extra little details, it may take a bit of extra time, but it really adds that extra oomph to your card. And with the partial die cutting technique, all of these little things help you customize your cards and make it unique to you. So anyone can grab these products and just kind of slap the ephemera with like a border die and a frame and but then it kind of looks a bit generic. Like anyone could take that product and make it and you kind of get a run of the mill look. But when you add all these extra little details, it's something that other people may not think of doing, so it makes it more unique. So now that I've got all of these pieces down on my front panel, I want to go ahead and start working on the actual shaker portion of this card. Now, I don't recommend doing this. You probably should have cut down the panel. I should have cut down the panel beforehand, but I did want like a tiny bit of a border on my card base. So I'm just kind of adjusting the little fronds that I put down and cutting a tiny little border around the edge. And now I'm grabbing my ephemera, the one that I chose to use, and I'm just placing it on the card base. So this is just an A2 size card base, and I like to use liquid glue because it gives you a little time to reposition it. So I've gone ahead and put that exactly where I want it so it shows through that two-tier cake exactly how I want it to go. Now I'm going to add some foam strips here. These are thinner strips. If you have thicker strips, it's completely fine. All I'm doing is creating my shaker compartment here. So it's really important that you butt these strips up against each other well so that your shaker elements don't kind of fall out all over the place. So that's the main thing, whether you use thick foam, thin foam, it doesn't matter as long as you get that compartment that's completely contained. Now, I'm adding some more foam pieces around the sides so that this card doesn't fall flat in different areas, so it's all kind of at the same height once we get our shaker going. I'm adding some of that anti-static powder around the edge so that our shaker elements don't kind of stick to the edge of the foam. And now I'm going to add my shaker elements. So I've got some platinum glitter confetti, and then I've also got this white glitter confetti, which is really nice because it's not plain white. It has like an iridescent shine to it, so it picks up, you can see the greens in that background really well. It'll also pick up the blue once I put the blue front of the card on top of this. I've also got this other confetti mix. So this is a Halloween confetti mix. And no, I'm not going to add Halloween elements to this, but it has these little blue pieces in it. You see the little blue confetti? So I wanted to add that to kind of just tie in the blue from the front panel of this card and also the blue balloons that are in this ephemera card image. So you can always do this mix and match your confetti in order to get it to work for you and get the colors that you want. I'm going ahead and I'm taking off all the masked or the bits, the release paper from all of my foam. And then I am going to make sure that my confetti is just right in the center where my window would be and attach this to my card base very carefully in order to make sure that I also get that tiny little frame that I allowed around the edge, which is really hard to see, but it is there. And I do like, just even if it's just a little bit of a frame. So now I can kind of just move my shaker elements around and get them to move where I want. There is like one little sprinkle that got a little stuck there at the top underneath the happy birthday at the top of the tier, but that's okay. It's good because sometimes you want the shaker elements to kind of stay a bit at the top and around so that you can see them. So now I've just added some more of those white glitter confetti bits just to add a little bit more pizzazz to the front. And I've got a black pen here. This is an archival ink marker, so it is good to go on cards. That color is going to last for a long time, not fade. And I'm just adding like the little center of the flowers, just a little bit of detail there. And I think that black really pulls out those flowers and makes this card stand out. It just pulls everything together and looks really nice in the end. So that is my 2-tier partial die cut shaker card. 2-tier cake shaker card today with that gorgeous ephemera in the background that I think gives it a fun look. If you think that there's too much going on, maybe you don't want to stamp the sentiment on the shaker window, but just at the top, you could do that as well. So you could see more of that ephemera in the background. So I hope that you liked this card idea today and you'd give it a try yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as I mentioned before, all the links are down in the description down below. I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.